Hello, folks. My name is Brady Carver, and did you know that there are 2 months in our calendar that are named after 2 prominent figures in history? Those months are the months of July and August, who are named after Julius Caesar and his son, Augustus. And it's interesting to note that July and August follow one another, just how Augustus succeeded or followed after Julius Caesar, cementing their legacy in the Gregorian calendar forever. So today I'll be informing you guys more about both Julius and Augustus Caesar and their legacies from ancient Rome, as well as the impact they had and the reasons that they transcended down generations down the line to where we still learn about them today, hundreds and thousands of years later. So to begin, Julius Caesar was born in the year 100 BC into a politically chaotic and war-torn Roman Republic. And he was born into a noble family who was not very wealthy, as you would imagine a noble family would be, given the fact that the Caesar family at the time was not nearly as famous or wealthy as they were as Julius's reign extended down the line. So at the young age of 16, Julius Caesar's father died, causing Julius to marry into a girl's family who was very politically prominent, which at the age of 16, Julius was already involved in military and paying attention to politics, but marrying this girl furthered his ambitions and furthered his interest in these topics. During his 20s, Julius Caesar started gaining even more notoriety and political power due to his success as being a powerful and confident orator who got the public's backing because multiple reasons. One of those reasons being he was willing to challenge the Roman Senate, which many politicians or people of Rome at the time were not willing to do, mainly due to fear of punishment or fear of persecution. As well as Julius was supporting the common man, which from a political perspective at this given time, equality was not nearly as common at the time in Rome as it is in a country like America today. There's a famous story about Julius Caesar. He cried at the statue of Alexander the Great on one of his conquests, and this is because he didn't believe he would be able to live up to the success and live up to the reputation that Alexander the Great had left for himself, which is ironic in the fact that today we do learn about Julius and Augustus Caesar, as well as Alexander the Great, proving that Julius was wrong and that he did live up to this success of Alexander. In the year 49 BC, about 5 years before he was murdered, Julius Caesar crossed the Rubicon River, which essentially marked his beginning of a dictatorship in Rome. Rome went from a republic to an empire, and despite being a dictator, Julius brought things to Rome that were beneficial to them in the end, despite the dictatorship ruling. And some of these things are bringing order to the country as a whole, enforcing laws more, essentially not letting the public run wild like they were once able to, as well as reorganizing the court systems, which some would argue he was only doing that for his own gain because he would do things such as overruling Senate rulings, which we can see things like that happening today and why that would be a conflict of interest. So after he crossed the Rubicon, he gained enemies because he took this title of dictator. So it was only 5 years after that, 44 BC, on the Ides of March, on March 15th, 44 BC, he was stabbed and murdered. So after this, his son, Octavian, who later changed his name to Augustus, how I had mentioned, Augustus was 4 years old when Julius Caesar died. And he was born the great-nephew of Julius Caesar, but he was later adopted by Julius and taken in as a son. Despite the blood relation, Julius viewed him as a son, even though he was only 3-4 years old when he was old enough to remember his uncle Julius. So Augustus, like I had mentioned, he was 4 years old when Julius died. And according to Suetonius, Augustus down the line, when he took reign in his teen years, he led 5 civil wars. And according to Suetonius, this was for both revenge and expressing his power, but he felt a personal vendetta or personal reason to get revenge for the fact that these people went after his uncle and killed his uncle. So after these 5 civil wars, Augustus led or restored the faith in the Roman Empire, and this was the beginning of the Pax Romana, which lasted 200 years. And Pax Romana translates to Roman peace, and from Augustus starting this after the 5th Civil War to 200 years later when Marcus Aurelius, at the end of Marcus Aurelius's reign. So from the creation of the Julian calendar, which Julius did during his reign as emperor, to things such as the Pax Romana, you can see the immense success that these leaders brought to their country of Rome. So as well as that, both Julius and Augustus clearly left the world with a strong legacy and left the Roman Empire with a strong legacy that's remembered thousands of years later. And the Roman Empire also popularized the concept of religion. As we know, Christianity came from the Roman Empire. And things like Christianity, despite people's beliefs, Christianity came from the Roman Empire and traveled west to America. And no matter what people believe, that's clear influence from the Roman Empire. And that's another example of transcending values that came from Rome to America. So given all this, the church and state were not separate, which that's one big part of American history, is separating the church from state. And many people agree that having church and state combined is definitely a conflict of interest and not something that a country needs. So to conclude, both Julius and Augustus Caesar are important figures in history, not only American history due to the influence they brought, but especially European history. And studying them will bring a deeper understanding of politics and power dynamics, and even in today's more humane society compared to more inhumane actions of back then. So from the reign of Julius being more power strong to the more diplomatic reign of Augustus, the Caesar family is an interesting part of European history and will not be forgotten anytime soon. From things such as bringing Christianity to the West to bringing the Pax Romana to Rome, these figures will be remembered forever. Thank you for your time listening, and I hope you learned something new while listening to this speech.